All right, is everybody ready? Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out this afternoon. As you all know, my name is Brian Manley. I'm the police chief here in Austin, and I want to introduce Dana Cadeby, who is our new executive director of the lab, and she will speak here shortly. Pleased to be standing here before you today to announce that we have submitted the last batch of our sexual assault kits that have been part of our backlog that we've been dealing with for well over a year now. A lot of work has gone into place to get us to the point to where we're at today. As many will remember from our discussions of the past year and longer, we found ourselves with a significant number of sexual assault kits that were part of our backlog, as did police departments across this country. Kits that had not been tested because we either had a victim that was not willing to seek prosecution, or because we were able to prosecute that case without the testing of that evidence due to a confession or other evidence. And what we have all realized as a law enforcement community is the importance of testing all kits, because that profile, if one is returned from a sexual assault kit, gets loaded into CODIS and may link an offender to a separate offense from the case it was originally collected for. So again, we suffered from a backlog similar to departments across this country. We were very fortunate in Austin to get grant money awarded through the Danny program, along with money that we allocated within the police department, because we recognized the importance to the survivors in our community and the community as a whole of getting through the backlog sexual assault kits that we had here. So again, this was a significant undertaking for us as a department. If you all remember, back in October of 2017, we had 4,080 cases that were backlogged at that point. These were either cases that had been backlogged since the 90s or cases that we had collected recently that were awaiting testing. And again, where we stand today, our kits are caught up, and we are submitting the kits from current assaults as they come into the department. Again, there was a lot of work that went into getting us to this position today. I want to thank a lot of people here today. We had a mayor and council that supported us through this process. They played a very heavy role in taking community input. Our community partners that work with the survivors of sexual assault in this community played a very strong role in this as well. And I want to send a very strong message to our community that we do take sexual assault seriously here at the department, and that's why we worked as diligently as we did to get through these backlogged kits and to get to the position that we're in today, and that is where kits are being tested as they come in. We do recognize that sexual assault is one of the most underreported, if not the most underreported crime, and I want to reach out again to those in our community that have been victimized. It is important that you come forward, and it is important that you report your victimization to us so that we can seek justice for you, and that we can hopefully bring that offender into custody before he or she has the opportunity to victimize somebody else in our community. It's been a long road to get to where we are today, but again, it's very important to note that we took this very seriously, and we've gotten to the point to where all of our kits have been tested. I want to again introduce Dr. Cadeby, and she is the new executive director of the forensics lab, and as such, she oversees all operations in the lab. We actually hired her back in November of last year, and she is another strong reason why we're at the point to where we're at today. With her leadership and her oversight, she saw the final push to get all of these kits out to the various labs that we initiated contracts with, and has been overseeing the processing and the returns of those. And then before she comes up, I'll just remind you as well, as a department, we recognize the importance of being able to handle these sexual assault kits once they return if we identified a profile within that kit that might require additional follow-up. We assign an additional 5 investigators to our sexual assault unit to form a cold case unit to help us process all these cases. So again, we're putting the appropriate emphasis and additional resources towards this issue. But if Dr. Cadeby wants to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Chief Manley, and thank you, members of the press and the community, for this opportunity to be the new director of the Forensic Science Division. I'm very honored for this opportunity. And I just wanted to give you a little insight into my background. Really, at my heart, I'm an applied research scientist with a PhD in biology with focus on molecular biology. And I really thrust into the forensic realm back in 2001, where I led the processing of well over 7,000 items of evidence in the Amerithrax investigation in collaboration with the FBI. And since then, for the past 15 years, I have lived and worked here in Austin, Texas, where I've managed operations and laboratories and multidisciplinary analytical laboratories and field collection operations as the Director of Biological Sciences for a company called Signature Science, where I led the stand-up and the successful launch of an American Society of Crime Laboratory Directors accredited forensic laboratory that actually provided DNA services. So as Chief Manley noted, in November, late November, we'll just count December of last year, I came on board, and my new role as the division director is really, I'm responsible for the management, the technical and quality defensibility of the Division of Forensic Science. And I'm really excited about how the department and Chief Manley encompass the whole continuum of forensic science to be under my purview, starting with crime scene collection, through analysis and reporting of evidence, including latent print examinations, drug chemistry, toxicology, firearms, and the management of other services that we don't conduct under our accreditation umbrella, but do so through the partnership of other laboratories and other outsourced service laboratories, for example, DNA services. And then finally, to end the continuum, I actually manage the evidence unit, so the management, storage, and disposition of evidence. So I'm really excited about that role, and I am responsible for and committed to the technical defensibility and quality of services coming out of the Forensic Science Division. And it's really with this strong scientific background, this emphasis on technical defensibility, and my commitment to quality, that is my vision to provide a safe community for you and your family and all of those that are lucky enough to live here in Austin. Thank you.
So with that, we will open it up to questions.
So can you guys walk us through what the state of the DNA lab is currently, what the DNA lab is able to do right now, how it's operating, and what your plans are for the future and a timeline potentially?
Sure. So we have a fully functioning DNA lab. It's through DPS. It's the Capital Area Lab through DPS. We have entered into a contract with the Department of Public Safety, so they're providing the management and oversight of the DNA operations, and they are focused on cases that are coming through APD. So it is a state-of-the-art facility that we have had for many, many years, that we closed for a period of time until we entered into that contract with DPS. As far as what the future looks like, we've got a work group that is made up of members of the Austin Police Department, the City of Austin. It's made up of members of the District Attorney's Office, the County Attorney's Office, the County Judge, the Texas Defense Bar, the Texas Forensic Science Commission, and many others. They continue to meet both to look at what happened within the lab, but also to address what the path forward is. So that is not yet decided what the future of the lab will be, whether it will stay under its current construct or whether we will look at a new way of operating it. That will be an outcome of the work product of that group.
So what are some of the errors in the past that you have learned for and you will especially be on the lookout for now, with the new operations?
Well, again, as I said, Texas DPS is operating that lab, but I think the audit that was conducted on our lab outlined some of the specifics, such as there was changes in the methods by which we were conducting DNA analysis. The scientific community changed to a newer method, and we stayed with the method that we had been practicing along with many other labs for quite some time. There were issues with contamination and use of reagents beyond their expiration date. All of that has already been addressed through that audit. And again, that is something that the lab is very well aware of, and again, being under the management and leadership of DPS, they're insisting that, ensuring that we've got the same quality in our lab as they do with all their other facilities.
And is that working group doing that as well, making sure this doesn't happen again? Is that they're also looking at that ways like that as well?
Well, yes, I mean, that's the responsibility of DPS, but actually Dr. Cadavy as well. I mean, there's always a quality control program in place, and so that's what catches those when they happen, and again, looks to avoid any recurrence of that.
How many sexual assault kits is the APD DPS lab testing a month on average?
You know, I think it varies by month to month. I've got numbers here that within the last month we had 67 new kits that came in. So again, it varies by month.
How much did the contracts cost to get through the backlog?
We can get you that number. I don't have the number in front of me, but we put contracts in place with many different local labs. Again, we didn't want to just go with one lab because we would be much more delayed in getting through this. And the more capacity we built by having contracts with multiple labs allowed us to get through this as quickly as we did.
Basic question, but so who kind of is in charge of the lab? Is it a partnership, or like is APD in charge, or is DPS in charge of the day-to-day operation?
Regards to the DNA analysis, that is under the leadership of the Texas DPS. Every other function, Dr. Cadavy oversees that. And as she stated, that's everything from the initial collection of the evidence on scene by our evidence units all the way through its processing, whether it be through chemistry or ballistics or any of those other areas, and then all the way through its disposition to the evidence room.
What is the capacity? How many kits can you test per month? What is y'all's current capacity?
Well, again, we've got contracts in place with multiple different labs, so capacity is not an issue anymore. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, you said the last question. All right.
I did. So moving forward, you know, obviously a lot of people wanting to know how long it takes for a rape kit to be processed. So just to kind of give that, you know, to victims out there who are wondering if they come forward, how long might that process be?
So for survivors that come forward and report your victimization, the kit will be turned in within the next week or two for processing. It gets to that lab within that first month, and then depending upon the capacity of the lab at that time, we're getting them back as quickly as 60 days. Some labs, if they're backed up, could take a little bit longer, but we are back on track and getting them submitted within that first month and getting them back in a timely manner so that we can process these cases as efficiently as quickly as possible. Thank you.